Hey everybody, welcome back here to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. And we're going to be talking about some major winter storms that'll be bringing heavy snow, but also heavy rain and severe weather to parts of the country as we go through the rest here of January. Today's the last day of January and into early February. We're going to walk you through the first 2 weeks of February in this forecast. Hey, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow along with all of my detailed, accurate weather breakdowns. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. Let's look at our temperatures here across the western United States. This afternoon, our highs are going to be warmest across southern California into southern Arizona and New Mexico, and even a warm nose of air up here across portions of eastern Colorado, eastern Wyoming, and southeastern portions of Montana. Temperatures will be in the 50s and 60s in the warmest areas, more of the 20s, 30s in the higher elevations across the west. Looking at the central U.S., we have some warmer air down to the south toward Oklahoma, Texas, and along the Gulf Coast. Temperatures there will be primarily in the 60s, some 70s the further south you go into southern Texas. Otherwise, to the north, we're seeing the coldest air in North Dakota, northern Minnesota, and northeastern portions of South Dakota. Temperatures in the single digits to teens there, even some 20s. And then the further south you go toward Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri, a lot of these areas will be in the 40s or near 50 degrees this afternoon. Finally, across the eastern U.S., the coldest air will be finally, to the north, up there into northern Maine. We're going to be into the teens and single digits, and then even some 20s up there. More 30s across the northeast New England, and then 50-degree line going all the way up into Ohio, West Virginia, and Maryland. And then look at the Carolinas, even southeastern Virginia, down into Georgia. A lot of 70s there and 80s down in southeast Florida this afternoon. Let's look at our temperature trends as we go through this upcoming weekend and into next week, because we're definitely going to be seeing the warmer air continue. As we go into the weekend tomorrow, we're going to see some warmer Pacific air moving west to east across the United States, and this is going to bring warmer than normal temperatures across the Great Plains. And then finally, as we go into Sunday, that will stretch from Texas up there toward Michigan and Wisconsin with the well above normal temperatures. So a warm start to our February, and this is the first weekend of February, and it's definitely going to start off pretty mild. Now, with the mild air, we are seeing the potential for severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center's Day 1 outlook does have a dark green area. That's a level 1 out of 5. Marginal risk of severe weather in a small area of southeastern Alabama, southwest Georgia, and the northwest Florida Panhandle from Panama City up there into places towards Tallahassee as well. And let's look at the radar, what it could look like going into the afternoon and evening. Here we are, present time. We got a line of some showers and thunderstorms from eastern Tennessee down into North Georgia, much of Alabama, and into the extreme northwest Florida Panhandle. Going into the mid-afternoon hours, 3, 4 o'clock, notice those storms will be rumbling through places like the Atlanta metro, into Montgomery, all the way down here in toward Panama City. And then as we go into the evening hours, 6 o'clock or so, those storms will continue moving east into Virginia, the Carolinas there, and into southern Georgia, and some of those storms even into North Florida there. Maybe a couple shower storms lingering behind the system, post-frontal back here into Kentucky, middle and eastern Tennessee, and northern Alabama. Those are likely to produce heavy rain, but severe weather is not a concern there. The severe weather threat will be on the leading edge of this cold front as it continues to move in. Also of note, we're going to see some snowfall up across the northern tier of this system. So the northeast could see some snow from Maine back here through New Hampshire, Vermont, and in portions of central New York State. That'll carry back there toward Lake Erie and into northern Ohio as we go into the evening hours. And then finally, daybreak there on Saturday. Most of the system outside of eastern Massachusetts and Cape Cod, most of the precipitation will be off the coast, maybe a little bit of some shower activity down into central Florida as well. Here's the additional rainfall accumulation that we're likely to see going through Saturday morning around 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Notice we got a deformation rain band up here into northern Illinois. Could be picking up around an inch of rain in Chicago over here toward Detroit. And then more of that rain expected to be heavy across the mid-Atlantic into the Delmarva region. and then further south and east from there as that line of storms moves through. And looking at the snowfall potential, maybe around an inch or two here across the northeast from Maine back into New Hampshire, Vermont, central New York, and that will linger back into Lake Erie there, far northern Ohio, around an inch or two of snow there. And looking at the Pacific Northwest, we got a lot of snowfall here through your Saturday in the higher elevations, the Cascades, the Sierras, and the Rockies here, especially in Idaho. We could be seeing a couple of feet of snow as we go through your Saturday time frame. Let's look here at the start of our weekend and going really for the start of February. This is the first 7 days of the month from tomorrow all the way through Saturday, February 8th. And notice we got the warmer air here in red across the southern and eastern tier of the United States. Coldest of air up here in southwest Canada and the northern United States, really parked across the Pacific Northwest. That's the trend over the 7-day average. And notice here the precipitation anomalies, very wet over here in Northern California. That'll transfer over into Oregon, Northern Nevada, into Idaho, into Northern Utah, Montana, Wyoming, even into the Dakotas, and then transfer downstream from there toward the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and yes, our friends in Southern Canada will be wet as well. Notice the dry areas will be down near the Gulf Coast and into the Southeast. This does include Florida as well. It doesn't mean it's going to be completely dry in those areas, just drier than we normally see it here for this time of year. We do have an atmospheric river of moisture that'll be moving into California here as we go into Friday, and this is going to be moving in as we go into this afternoon and evening. And then you can see, look at all the moisture. This is the PWAT values, the precipitable water here in inches. This means any rainfall that moves over here, portions of the foothills here or coastal California, could squeeze out a quick inch of rain per hour. And then as we go into the weekend here, Saturday and then into Sunday, just notice the fire hose of moisture just really continues even into Monday here, going into Tuesday, Wednesday, and then that starts to migrate finally into Southern California. Yes, we could even see moisture down here as we finish off the week this upcoming week. Let's look at what this looks like on the radar, because this is going to produce some snow in blue, rainfall in green here. This is as we go into today. Going into tonight, we're seeing some pretty heavy snow for the Cascades and the Sierras, heavy rain near coastal areas, so Portland, Seattle, down here in toward areas of northwest California. And then as we go through the day tomorrow, we see that rainfall continue and snow even as we go into Sunday. Monday, we see it even into Tuesday. Wednesday, we see it, and then it starts to migrate on Thursday. But notice it's not done yet. We got one more impulse of moisture that'll come in as we go into later next week and before we completely shut off the taps by finally next Saturday on February 8th. How much precipitation are we talking about here? Well, a lot of it, especially across Northern California. We could see double-digit rainfall totals easily, picking up potentially a foot of rain in Northern California here, and that could cause some significant flash flooding concerns. And as far as the moisture for snow, yeah, plenty of cold air in the Pacific Northwest. We showed you those colder anomalies up here. And especially in those higher elevations, that will change that rain quickly over to snow, and it will be piling up in a big way. We could see 80 inches of snow here across parts of the Cascades and into the Sierras especially, even the Rockies, Idaho, into Wyoming here, into portions of Montana, Utah, into Colorado. Definitely the ski resorts loving the snow out west and the watershed out west there in the Sierras, going to be needing some of that moisture. Now, what about downstream? So across the central and eastern U.S., this is what it'll look like as we go into tomorrow. Pretty dry outside of some snow showers in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And then as we go into Sunday, that could transfer some snow showers over into the UP of Michigan, lower Michigan as well, and into the Great Lakes region as a clipper system as we go into Sunday. Finally, as we go into Monday, we got a really stretched out area of snow from literally Lake Michigan all the way back here to Oregon. The heaviest, though, will stay over into the Pacific Northwest, but we're definitely seeing that snowfall continue into Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we see a system try to develop here near Kansas and Oklahoma. A lot of warm air preceding these systems, as we showed you with the orange temperature anomalies across the southern and the eastern U.S. And you can see this is a lot of rainfall. In the green, maybe a little bit of an overrunning setup with some freezing rain or sleet up there toward the Midwest, Ohio Valley we'll keep an eye on. This could eventually lead to some stronger systems downstream once this moisture moves in from the Pacific Northwest later next week, could bring a more formidable winter storm. The placement and the moisture it has to work with is still yet to be seen, and which area gets snow, sleet, freezing rain, even severe weather, all that here is yet to be seen. But we'll keep an eye on this as we go through the late week time frame. But notice between Saturday tomorrow and the following Saturday, February 8th, this is the moisture we'll be seeing. Decent moisture across especially the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys into the Great Lakes and the Northeast. Couple areas seeing over an inch there of moisture. And looking at the snowfall, definitely seeing a couple of inches of snow. The heaviest snow track looks to be pretty far up to the north, Lake Superior, and then over there into southern Canada. So Saskatchewan, southern Manitoba, into much of Ontario and Quebec, even the northern part of the Northeast and New England. We will still see some snow chances across the Midwest, especially the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes and northern Ohio Valley here, but not as much as areas further north in southern Canada. Now let's look at our temperature anomalies going into now the second week of February. This is February 9th through the 15th or so, and you can see colder air, especially in this green area up into Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, and the Panhandle of Nebraska. That's where the coldest of air will be. Notice that cold air as it travels further south. We could see below normal temperatures as far south as North Texas and the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma, and Arkansas here, and that will squash that ridge a little bit further south toward the Gulf Coast and to the east, and that means we're going to see an active storm track. It's going to set up a temperature gradient from Texas to the Great Lakes, and right along that temperature gradient is where we expect the low pressure systems to be. On the northwest side of that, heavy snow. Underneath that, an ice storm threat, and then we have the potential for severe weather and some heavy rainfall to the south and east of that low pressure track, and which means we have some pretty heavy rain. This is a classic look at what a weak La Nina would look like, and that would pull the snow line as the colder air moves in further south, pull the snow line a little bit further south as well, so we could have snow chances as far south as Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, into portions there of Kentucky, perhaps Tennessee, North Carolina, into Virginia, West Virginia. Big signal for snow here in the Northeast and New England as well, including the I-95 corridor into that second week of February. This is February 9th through that 15th time frame. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for a detailed, accurate weather breakdown. Follow along with all of my updates simply by subscribing, turning on post notifications so you are notified as we have another video likely coming out here this evening. Also, like the video, give it a thumbs up, share this video with friends, family, and on social media. We'll continue to track these major winter storms as they produce heavy rain and also some heavy snow, but severe weather as well across the United States. We have you covered here on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Friday out there.